There comes a quiet moment in life, not loud, not chaotic, where something simply clicks. You don't cry, you don't argue, you don't even feel angry anymore. You just go silent. And in that stillness, something deep inside says, I'm done. Not with resentment, not to get back at anyone, but because you finally understand this isn't worth losing yourself over. That's what real detachment feels like. Not numbness, not pretending. Real. Not the performative, I don't care, front people post online, but the kind of detachment where your soul simply stops investing in things that never nourished you to begin with. And oddly, nothing outside of you really changes. Same conversations, same people, same noise. But you're different now. You start to respond less, not out of spite, but because it takes too much from you. You stop explaining yourself. You stop needing others to get it, because deep down you see how much you were caring and how little of it ever truly belonged to you. You're not bitter, just clear. Clear about what drains you, clear about what you'll no longer chase, clear about what peace feels like, and how it's worth more than being understood. And in that clarity, something powerful awakens. Because when you're entangled, everything becomes a trigger. A delayed reply, a shift in tone, a change in plans. You personalize it all. You blame yourself. But once you detach, it lands differently. You stop seeing silence as punishment. You stop turning other people's behavior into your burden. You stop making it all about you, because now you know better. You observe instead of absorb. You protect your space instead of trying to prove your value. And one day you realize you're not falling apart every weekend anymore. You're not living in a loop of survival mode. You're not questioning your worth just because someone else couldn't show up. You're steady, centered, calm, unreachable, in the most beautiful, grounded way. No announcements, no dramatic declarations. She just faded from the noise that once drowned her. I watched it happen. There was this guy, in and out, always almost present, just enough to stay on her mind, just enough to keep her guessing, but never enough to give her peace. She used to analyze every little thing. Was I too much? Should I reach out? Maybe he's just overwhelmed. And that loop, it owned her, her days, her nights, her weekends, hijacked by the ghost of a man who was never really there. Until one day she just stopped caring, and not in a fake, performative way. I mean, she genuinely didn't care anymore. She didn't stop texting to make a point. She just forgot to. She didn't stop watching his stories out of spite. They simply didn't interest her anymore. It wasn't about revenge, it was about freedom. And of course, he came back. They always do when the energy shifts, when they can no longer feel your chase, when you're no longer emotionally feeding them. But this time, she didn't even blink. She told me, "It's not that I hate him, I just don't want to return to the version of myself I've outgrown." That line changed everything for me, because that's what detachment really is. It's not about closing your heart. It's about rising into who you truly are. You don't stop caring because you've shut down. You stop caring because you finally started valuing yourself. And from that place, life looks different. You're no longer begging someone to complete you. You're no longer breaking yourself just to keep others comfortable. You're no longer giving away your power in the name of connection. You've seen what you used to tolerate, and now you can't unsee it. You can't unfeel the peace you felt once you let go. And that's when the real healing starts. What no one tells you is this: once you fully detach, life starts to feel strange, but in the best possible way. You wake up and your first thought isn't who's upset with you. You don't check your phone hoping someone finally reached out. You're not waiting for that reply to dictate your mood anymore. You just exist. Not in a numb way, but in a clear, grounded way. Like your mind has room again. Like your nervous system isn't in a constant fight or flight state. Like you're not begging for closure from people who don't even have it with themselves. It's subtle, but massive. You walk down the street and you notice the sky again. Music moves you again. You're no longer lost in replays of last week's conversations. You're here, whole, awake. That's the reward for detachment. You reclaim your life. You reclaim your peace and your mind. And the wildest part? You start needing less. You stop needing answers or apologies or people to become different just so you can feel okay. You stop needing validation, chaos, drama, or reassurance to feel alive. You're not anchored to outcomes anymore. You're anchored to yourself. You stop trying to make others feel you. You stop begging to be seen, because anything real doesn't require exhaustion. Anything aligned doesn't require begging. And from that realization, you stop settling. Automatically. You don't ghost people. You just fade from places that never felt like home. You don't shut down emotions. You stop pouring energy into lifeless situations. You don't punish people. You rise quietly, and they feel it. Not because you're loud, but because you're no longer available for emotional depletion, and you feel lighter. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours. That's the shift. That's your new baseline. You walk with your head up and your spirit grounded. Not desperate, not cold, just done performing. And that's where your real self blooms. Not in noise, not in over-explaining, not in trying to fix everything, but in the sacred stillness you used to fear. Now, that stillness is home, because that's where you found you. And here's the unexpected part. When you detach, you don't just avoid pain. You begin to realize how much of your identity was built from pain. You look back and barely recognize the version of you that accepted crumbs and called it love. The one who rationalized red flags, lowered their standards, begged for clarity. And now, you'd rather be misunderstood in solitude than understood in chaos. You'd rather be alone and whole than surrounded and broken, because the version of you who begged and over-explained wasn't weak, just exhausted. Now, you protect your peace like it's gold, because it is. You guard your energy, your attention, your time, not out of fear, but from respect. And maybe the world won't know what to do with this you. The you who doesn't flinch when someone pulls away, who doesn't argue every misunderstanding, who doesn't need the spotlight, the likes, the applause, because you already chose you, fully, quietly, entirely. And now you attract differently, not just people, but moments, opportunities, calm, because you built your life on something unshakable. Not reactions, not desperation, but inner stillness. You're no longer chasing closure or overanalyzing shifts in energy. You're just living, softly, clearly, no longer begging the universe for ease. And that peace, that soft clarity, that's your new strength. You're no longer pretending, no longer pushing to be the bigger person at the cost of your sanity. No longer offering your heart to anyone who hasn't earned it. This is what real detachment looks like. Not a retreat in fear, but a rise in truth. And the longer you live here, the more peace feels natural. At first it's strange. You're used to chaos. Your nervous system expects a crash, but slowly that noise fades. You stop expecting pain. You stop assuming love requires sacrifice. Your baseline resets. You stop spiraling. You stop needing drama to feel alive. You stop romanticizing inconsistency. And now, you're unshakable. You don't flinch at ghosting. You don't chase what pulls away. You don't wait to be chosen, because you have already chosen yourself. And when they try to return, they're met with a different you, the version they once knew. She's not home anymore. Now, you choose your access points. You protect your soul. You build from peace, because you worked too hard to get here. You fought too long to reclaim yourself. You unlearned too much to go backward. So now, you move quietly. You love intentionally. You trust yourself first, because the only approval you need is that calm voice inside that says, "We don't do that anymore." So if you're still here, it probably means part of you already let go. Or maybe you're standing at the edge of it, worn down, burned out, and something in you finally whispered, "Enough." And here's what you need to hear. You don't need a reason to detach. You don't need betrayal or a dramatic finale. Sometimes growth is reason enough. Sometimes you just wake up and realize, I don't relate to who I used to be. And that's not cold. That's not selfish. That's healing. You're not abandoning anyone. You're returning to yourself. You're not mean. You're just honest now. And when your honesty meets your boundaries, everything aligns. You speak less, you rest deeper, you breathe without guilt, because you're full of you again. So if this message met you exactly where you are, go to the comments and write, I detach with love and I protect my peace. Say it, own it. Let that be your first act of real detachment, not built on pain, but built on truth. And if you felt seen by this video, if you're ready to move forward without looking back, like, subscribe, and stay with us. This space is for those healing quietly, for those building lives that no longer hurt to carry. No more explaining, no more chasing, no more waiting. You choose you now, and from here on out, nothing can hurt you the way it used to. I'll see you in the next one. If this message stirred something within you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone else might be walking the same silent path, waiting for a sign that they're not alone. Stay grounded, stay thoughtful, stay awake. For more deep dives into philosophy, the human experience, and timeless truths, subscribe and turn on the bell. Wander the void with wonder, question deeply, think freely. Until next time, embrace the silence and let it speak.